Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noam Laden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noam.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5 o'clock. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 13th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sun and clouds this morning. Some showers possible this afternoon, the high going to be 69. Tonight and overnight, periods of rain, low 59. And then Wednesday, likely more rain, the high 66 if you are walking out the door with us right now. 59 and cloudy in Huntington out on Long Island. It's 62 and cloudy in East Orange and over New Jersey. And it's 61 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
A Bronx teenager is shot dead. Cops say a 14-year-old pulled the trigger. Edan Alexander's finally coming home. A Bronx family says a hit-and-run driver should turn themselves in. How about them Knicks? Are you a believer? A Westchester woman describes what happens when your dog eats your edibles. All right, let's get into it at 5:01. Let's start with some happy news. Sometimes people say to me, it's always doom and gloom with you, but it's not. The Knicks now 1 win away from the Eastern Conference Finals. Did you watch the game last night? Beating the Celtics 121-113, Game 4 of their East semifinal series. It was at the Garden. They finally won one there. Jalen Brunson leading the Knicks in scoring, 39 points. Jason Tatum led all scores. He had 42 points, but he went down with an injury with just a couple minutes to go at the end of the game, and it did not look good. But let's talk about the exciting part. Here's Knicks head coach Tom Thibodeau says this was a fantastic victory for the city of New York.
We got in a hole, but I love the way we fought back. Showed a lot of toughness and more discipline in the second half, and then timely plays.
Jalen Brunson says they're highly motivated now to finish off the Celtics when they play them on, what's today? That's Tuesday. I think it's Wednesday night they play them.
Just knowing that we have a great opportunity. And we're playing a really good team. And I don't even think we're playing our best basketball yet.
It's the way that we've responded. It's what I'm most proud of. Sticking together and just making sure we're not quitting. And that's a tough team over there.
Yeah, so they could finish off the Knicks Wednesday night in Boston. Of course, Justin's going to have all the sports coming up at 5:15. You want more good news? Asian markets reacting to the temporary U.S.-China tariff truce that took place.
The gains in most Asian stocks came after a carefully coordinated joint statement where the U.S. cut duties on Chinese products to 30% from 145%, while Beijing dropped its tariff on most American goods to 10% from 125% for a 90-day period. U.S. President Donald Trump said on Monday that he could speak to Chinese President Xi Jinping as soon as the end of the week. Laura Westbrook, Hong Kong.
Yeah, and U.S. stocks, they were just surging yesterday after the U.S. and China agreed to slash tariffs temporarily. Speaking from the White House, President Trump says it followed those productive talks in Geneva over the weekend.
Both sides now agreed to reduce the tariffs imposed after April 2nd to 10% for 90 days as negotiators continue on the larger structural issues.
The Dow just soared over 1,000 points at times, while the S&P 500 grew 2.9%. The NASDAQ Composite surged 4%. All good news.
The talks in Geneva were very friendly. The relationship is very good. We're not looking to hurt China. China was being hurt very badly. They were closing up factories. They were having a lot of unrest.
And as of yesterday, of course, the president says, hey, both sides making money again.
They were very happy to be able to do something with us. And the relationship is very, very good. I'll speak to President Xi maybe at the end of the week.
Dow ended the day up 1,100 points. Do you think I can pull more good news out of my bag? Well, how about this? Edan Alexander, the hostage raised in Tenafly, New Jersey, who held captive in Gaza for nearly 600 days. He was finally released yesterday by Hamas. And maybe you saw some of this video of his mom seeing him for the first time. She first talked to him on the phone.
I just released a photo of you. You look unbelievable. Wow. You look beautiful. I love you so much.
You know, he really did look unbelievable because I was worried he would look like some of these other hostages that looked like Holocaust survivors when they were released. But Edan looked okay. And finally, he got that moment when his mother saw him, and it was incredibly emotional. You can imagine that primal scream coming from just not being able to see her son, not being in control of the situation for almost 2 years. The mother of the Israeli American spoke with her son by phone, then finally saw him in person. Back in Tenafly, New Jersey, they were watching this all play out on an outdoor TV to see his return to Israel. And people there who knew him, those who didn't, pretty damn excited. Yeah, it was emotional to watch. Alexander will be in Israel for now, and he'll head to his hometown at some point. I imagine there's going to be some medical issues we'll find out about in the coming days. Here are some people back in Tenafly who know the Alexander family.
They're a wonderful family, and they're great citizens of Tenafly. The entire town of Tenafly, the mayor is here, the lieutenant governor is here. People are rallying because this family was all of us.
Yeah, and yesterday Hamas said it would release the Israeli American as part of the ceasefire effort, help get humanitarian aid into Gaza. Now, Alexander had joined the IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, after graduating high school in Tenafly in 2022, and he was captured at his army base when Hamas attacked on October 7th, 2023. But all that's in the rearview mirror as they celebrate in Tenafly, and the Alexander family celebrates in Israel.
And they're a wonderful family. I mean, in Tenafly, we have a large Israeli-American population. They're among them.
They've never given up hope for 1 minute, and this community has never given up hope for 1 minute.
I'm just praying that, Edan comes back home safe and that he comes back to Tenafly, New Jersey, and we're all together going for drives again, going to Brownstone Pancake Factory.
Oh, I know that place. That's in Edgewater. Good place.
Of course, she's scared. She wants to see that he is well, that he is walking, that he's talking. We don't know his condition.
Yeah, and we don't know his condition, but we saw the video that the Israeli Defense Forces released yesterday of his reunion with his family, and at least visibly, he looked okay, so we're wishing him the best. WABC News Time 5:09. The Archbishop of New York going to stay in Rome now to support the new Pope. Cardinal Dolan says he'll stay in Vatican City to attend a formal inauguration mass for Pope Leo that's going to take place come Sunday.
It'll be an honor to pray with and for him. I want to show him all the support and enthusiasm that I can. So I'm going to stick around and then come back a week from today. Is that all right?
Yeah, okay. He'll remain in Rome until at least Tuesday. He says watching Pope Leo take the helm of the Catholic Church has just been exhilarating. He actually compared it to kids opening presents on Christmas Day.
It'll be an honor to pray with and for him. I want to show him all the support and enthusiasm that I can. So I'm going to stick around and then come back a week from today. Is that all right?
Yeah, and Cardinal Dolan remembering the moment that Pope Leo was asked to pick his name.
He's just kind of a measured, shy, simple, humble, thoughtful, sensitive, listening fella, we've all fallen in love with him. Obviously, we would have, or he wouldn't have gone out on the balcony.
All right, so we'll wait for the Archbishop. I'm sure he'll have more to say about the inauguration of Pope Leo when he's back on home turf here in New York City come next Tuesday. 5:10. President Trump looking to bring prescription drug and pharmaceutical prices down. He signed an executive order yesterday that aims to slash prices in the U.S. to what other developed countries pay for the same drugs.
Basically, what we're doing is equalizing. There's a new word that I came up with, which I think is probably the best word. We're going to equalize. Where we're all going to pay the same. We're going to pay what Europe's going to pay.
The president says the U.S. will no longer subsidize the health care of other countries. The U.S. often pays, we often pay, you probably know this, but as much as 3 times more than other developed nations for the same prescriptions. Of course, it doesn't seem fair.
Whoever is paying the lowest price, we will look at that price and we will say that's the price we're going to pay. Most favored nations, that's what it is. Big Pharma will either abide by this principle voluntarily or will use the power of the federal government to ensure that we are paying the same price as other countries.
And the president says he's also going to target other practices that inflate these drug prices.
We're going to cut out the middlemen and facilitate the direct sale of drugs at the most favored nation price directly to the American citizen. So we're cutting out, Bobby, the middlemen. It's so important, right?
Now, the president, and he does this a lot, where he'll call something the greatest thing ever, but he called this executive order one of the most consequential in the country's history. And I have to say, with this one, I think he may be right if he's able to pull it off. The president yesterday talking about his administration and how they helped prevent a nuclear conflict between India and Pakistan. He says he used trade to help get the ceasefire deal done.
If you stop it, we're doing trade. If you don't stop it, we're not going to do any trade. People have never really used trade the way I used it. That I can tell you. And all of a sudden they said, I think we're going to stop.
Trump says a nuclear conflict between India and Pakistan could have led to just millions being killed. He then praised Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio for their efforts.
We stopped the nuclear conflict. I think it could have been a bad nuclear war. Millions of people could have been killed. We helped a lot. And we helped also with trade. I said, come on, we're going to do a lot of trade with you guys. Let's stop it. And they did it for a lot of reasons, but trade is a big one. We're going to do a lot of trade with Pakistan. We're going to do a lot of trade with India. We're negotiating with India right now. We're going to be soon negotiating with Pakistan.
And today, the president kicking off this 4-day trip to the Middle East in Saudi Arabia. The trip focused on making economic deals throughout the region as the president travels with business leaders, including Elon Musk. Trump will then head to Qatar tomorrow and the United Arab Emirates on Thursday. These nations are expected to announce possibly trillions of dollars worth of investments. One of the stories the journalists have been talking about as they follow the president on this trip is this controversial plan to accept a luxury jet from Qatar. The president says there's no reason to turn down the free jet that he would use as Air Force One.
Donald Trump contended it would be stupid to reject Qatar's offer of a luxury aircraft that could serve as a replacement for aging Air Force One jets. But Democrats warned the gift could create a major conflict of interest, violate the constitutional ban on foreign gifts, and open the door to foreign influence on U.S. policy. Trump says the Boeing plane would go to the Defense Department first and later be donated to his presidential library, not kept for personal use. Critics also argue the deal could distract from efforts to modernize the official Air Force One fleet and undermine U.S. credibility abroad. Ira Spitzer, San Francisco.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio set to meet with NATO foreign ministers in Turkey this week.
In a statement, the U.S. State Department said that Marco Rubio would use this meeting to advance President Trump's agenda of ensuring NATO allies contribute their fair share to making the military alliance stronger. The Trump administration's called on allies to pay north of 5% of annual GDP on defence, up from NATO's current benchmark of 2%. It's a topic that will likely feature prominently at next month's NATO summit in The Hague. But this week's foreign ministers' gathering could be overshadowed by the prospect of a possible meeting between Ukraine and Russia's leaders, as Washington continues to push for a ceasefire agreement. William Denslow, Brussels.
In a moment, we're going to tell you how the White House says it'll solve the problems at Newark Airport. It's just been impossible there. 70 cancellations yesterday. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk. Big night for the Knicks, Justin Ellen.
Huge night for the Knicks, man. It's got to be the biggest win we've seen out of the Knicks at MSG in what? 25 years?
Could be, yeah.
Something like that? Gotta be at least. But the Knicks, they need one more victory to reach the conference finals. 4. How about that? First time in 25 years. Boom, nail on the head. After beating the Boston Celtics 121-113 last night for a 3-1 series lead in their Eastern Conference semifinal series, Jalen Brunson had 39 points and 12 assists, and the Knicks pushed the defending champions to the brink of elimination in Game 4. Blown out in Game 3, the Knicks dominated the second half to become the first home team to win in this series. Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns each added 23 points, and OG Anunoby bounced back from 2 poor performances by scoring 20 for the Knicks, who can win the series tomorrow night at Boston. If not, they would come back to Madison Square Garden to try to do it on Friday night. The Celtics will have to make the NBA's 14th comeback from a 3-1 deficit and may have to do it without their star, Jason Tatum, who was carried off the court with a right leg injury with just under 3 minutes left. He scored 42 points, his high in these playoffs, before he was hurt when the Celtics turned the ball over and his leg gave out as he tried to lunge forward toward the loose ball. Hearing a lot of talk and speculation about an Achilles-type injury.
That has to be, because there was no contact. He was just on his own.
Yeah, exactly. Lunging for that ball, of course. The no contact thing, it pretty much tells you almost all you need to know if you're not a medical professional, which is...
Neither of us are, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah. But this could be a rather serious injury for Tatum, not only for just these playoffs, obviously, but going into next season for the Boston Celtics, if it turns out to be an Achilles tear. I mean, the guy was rolling, on a wheelchair into the locker room with his head down and his arms, clearly very emotional about the injury, so it did not look good. So MRIs today for Tatum. We'll keep you posted on that. To the Diamond and Queens, Pete Alonso hit a game-winning sacrifice fly in the 9th inning, and the Mets took advantage of a costly error by shortstop Isaiah Kiner-Falefa to beat the Pittsburgh Pirates 4-3. Juan Soto registered an RBI grindout. Mets left fielder Brandon Nimmo robbed Joey Bart of a leadoff homer in the 8th, and New York tied it at 1 when Nimmo and Jeff McNeil doubled off Paul Skeens in the 4th. Coming up next for the Mets, Kodai Senga gets the start in tonight's middle game of this 3-game series against Pittsburgh. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field. And out west in Seattle, Trent Grisham hit a pair of home runs, including one during New York's 6-run 5th inning, and the Yankees beat the Seattle Mariners 11-5. The win was overshadowed by Yankees third baseman Oswaldo Cabrera needing to be taken off the field in an ambulance after he got hurt in the 9th inning. Cabrera got hurt on an awkward slide when he scored on Aaron Judge's sacrifice fly. He appeared to injure his left leg when he reached back for the plate. Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger hit back-to-back RBI singles off Emerson Hancock before Austin Wells put the game out of reach with a 3-run shot. Goldschmidt continued his road success with his 5th inning single. The veteran first baseman has hit safely in each of his 20 games away from Yankee Stadium. In those contests, Goldschmidt has 7 doubles, 2 home runs, and 11 RBI. Up next for the Yanks, the ace Max Fried will get the start in Seattle tonight for Game 2 of 3 against the Mariners. First pitch is scheduled for 9:40 p.m. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ulrich on 77 WABC.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
WABC News Time 520. White House says the problems at Newark Airport fall squarely on the shoulders of the Biden administration. Yesterday, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says the airport is using old equipment that looks like it's off the set of the movie Apollo 13, and he says that's dangerous.
The outage also interrupted the phone line and radio frequencies for a very short period. This is how controllers talk to pilots.
Duffy says former transportation head Pete Buttigieg ignored the problems with the airport's telecommunications lines. Duffy says there's some temporary software fixes in place, but he warned it'll take time to modernize the airport and flights have to be reduced. So there's still going to be issues. In fact, yesterday, I think there was more than 70 cancellations.
I'll be requesting an OIG investigation into the failures of the last administration. We're using equipment that looks like it's off the Apollo 13 sat.
Yeah, and in the next half hour, we'll hear from some flyers who've had to completely change their schedule because of the delays and cancellations at Newark. 521. The head of Homeland Security says building more wall in Texas is a priority for the Trump administration. Secretary Kristi Noem says there's currently about 700 miles of it.
Since President Trump has been in office, we've constructed another 77 miles.
And she says there are 11 contracts to keep building border infrastructure, 5 more in the works.
A steel bollard wall that has been built, but also buoys that are being utilized as well.
Congress looking to spend about $69 billion on border security. 2/3 of that would be earmarked for barriers. And Congressman Mike Levin, he's out in California. He's calling for more border security along the coast of San Diego County. He met with the Coast Guard Border Patrol after smuggling incident off the coast of Del Mar last week, where 5 people were arrested and 4 people, including 2 children, died.
The smugglers took advantage of the fact that because of the weather, CBP and Coast Guard folks were not able to have planes monitoring potential smuggling. And so what we have to do is we've got to provide the technology.
Congressman sees what's going on along the Texas border. He wants the same California. $60 million for automated surveillance towers that would use cameras and radar and infrared technology to help stop smuggling boats in San Diego.
They would use cameras and radar and infrared technology to identify and help intercept maritime threats.
The last 4 years did absolutely nothing when we had thousands of people coming across our border. We had several boats every week coming onto our shores. He said and did nothing. Now, when political tides have changed, now all of a sudden he wants to do something about it.
That's the San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond, who says, he wants to stop the flow of migrants into California. 523, while we're out there, California Republicans warning about the rising problem of student aid fraud. We've seen this across the country. Congressman Kevin Kiley says that scammers posing as real students apply for financial aid and they get it and then pocket it.
Over a third of community college applications in the state were fraudulent.
That's a third just in California alone. A portion of the cash that's supposed to be spent on things like housing, food, and books is then put just people's pocket. They're able to get away with it. They're asking President Trump's education secretary to launch a formal investigation.
Individuals who were trying and succeeding in committing financial aid fraud, siphoning more than $10 million in federal funds and millions more in state aid.
I mean, that's wild. 1/3 of all applications to California community colleges were fake last year. Unbelievable. 524 from California. Let's go to Massachusetts. Lead investigator Karen Reed's murder retrial there cross-examined about inappropriate text messages. State police sergeant grilled yesterday about Trooper Michael Proctor, who was fired after Reed's first trial for texting no nudes so far while searching Reed's phone. This was, of course, after she hit her husband, or allegedly so.
We uphold the Constitution. It's unfortunate, unprofessional what he said in the private text message communication. He might have been voicing his frustrations. I cannot speak for Michael Proctor.
This is a gripping trial up in Massachusetts. Prosecutors say Reed killed her Boston cop boyfriend, John O'Keefe, by hitting him with her SUV, leaving him in the snow after drinking back in 2022. Justice Department opening an investigation into a proposed Muslim community down in North Texas. It comes at the request of Senator John Cornyn, who says religious discrimination and Sharia law have no place in the Lone Star State.
This is actually a place that welcomes only people of one particular religion. That's a potential civil rights violation.
We told you about this community a couple months back. Attorney General Pam Bondi says they want to know if developers of what's called Epic City could discriminate against Jews or Christians in Texas. The planned community is about an hour northeast of Texas. It includes hundreds of homes, a school centered around a mosque.
We should welcome people of all sorts of different faiths and people of no faith. If Christians and Jews will be excluded, that's a problem.
Yeah, Cornyn's worried about people being turned away, and he says, of course, that would be a civil rights violation.
All we're asking to get is the truth and the facts rather than some public relations answer.
And while we're talking religion and the Lone Star State, Texas allowing coaches and teachers now to engage in religious speech while on duty. A state representative talking about what's going on.
Public school employees do not check their First Amendment rights when they walk through the door of our schools.
So this means they could involve in prayer and stuff like that during sports. He points to a decision where the justices in the Supreme Court ruled in favor of a football coach who prayed with the team. The ruling said the government may not suppress an individual from engaging in personal religious observances.
Respect for religious expressions is indispensable to life in a free and diverse republic.
Yeah, and down in Washington, at the High Court, I was watching this yesterday, Chief Justice John Roberts was talking about discerning opinions and how they're put to the test. He was speaking at Georgetown Law yesterday. He was asked about the longevity of human justices and lawyers in the age of artificial intelligence. Will they still be needed? So Roberts conceded that it can replace thousands of human workforce hours doing research and cataloging for justices and lawyers, but he doubted that they'll ever bring a human touch to the courtroom. So he's not worried about AI replacing things like Supreme Court justices.
I just don't understand how a machine is going to be able to make those sensitive judgments about whether a particular individual should, go to jail, should prevail.
Chief Justice also offering some advice to soon-to-be attorneys, telling them not to worry about appearing naive, to listen closely and carefully before offering a client advice, and to soak up the knowledge of those with more experience than them.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 5:35. Good morning. It is Tuesday, May 13th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Sun and clouds this morning. Then we're going to see likely some showers this afternoon. The high going to be 69. Tonight and overnight, periods of rain, low 59. And then Wednesday, it's not really a total washout, but we're going to see some pop-up showers, the high 66. If you are walking out the door with us right now, it is 59 and cloudy in Huntington out on Long Island. It's 62 and cloudy in East Orange over in New Jersey. And it's 61 and cloudy right outside our Midtown studio. Go up to the Bronx. A 16-year-old girl believed to be an innocent bystander shot dead yesterday near her school, and now police are searching for a 14-year-old they think pulled the trigger.
Tonight, a 16-year-old is dead at the hands of a 14-year-old with a gun. These are babies killing babies, and it has to stop.
Police Commissioner Jessica Tisch there says the bullets flew near Bronx Latin High. That's on Home Street in the Morsania section. This was about 5 o'clock last night. They say video shows a fight break out between a group of kids gathered in the alley. They say a 14-year-old then punched in the face, knocked to the ground by another man. At some point, someone slips that 14-year-old a pistol, who then fires 3 shots into the crowd, which hits this 16-year-old Yvette Jeffrey in the head.
When the shots are fired, our victim, who we believe to be an unintended target, is struck, and she immediately falls to the ground with a gunshot wound to the head as the other children run away for their lives.
It's just heartbreaking. Paramedics, they raced to the scene. They were there just within minutes. The mother of a 13-year-old girl says she tried to console the victim's mother, who fell to the ground in despair when she saw what was happening.
She was like, no, that's not my daughter. And then she ran, and right there she was just like, she lost balance.
I have one child, and I cannot even imagine what that mother's going through. This destroys us.
Yeah, that voice you just heard there, Mayor Adams trying to console the family, worried parents. Other leaders visited Lincoln Hospital where the victim was taken. The 16-year-old was later pronounced dead, and parents just saying, this is crazy. A 16-year-old shouldn't be dead.
And mom is absolutely inconsolable. She got the worst phone call that no parent should ever get, ever.
Yeah, police now looking for that 14-year-old boy as a person of interest in connection to the shooting. They may be looking for make more arrests, too, as they continue and investigate how that young shooter even got his hands on a gun. Just outrageous and heartbreaking. 5:40. A possible New Jersey Transit rail strike could take place as soon as Friday. So New Jersey Transit yesterday announcing it's going to cancel train and bus service to MetLife Stadium for the Shakira concerts on Thursday and Friday due to the possibility that these engineers could walk off the job. That potentially would strand people at the stadium. The news could likely will impact thousands of people who attend the show, right? A giant stadium, or I guess MetLife Stadium, holds, 80,000 people. Representatives for New Jersey Transit and the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers have been meeting with a federal mediator in D.C. They began to do so yesterday. The two sides apparently far apart on salary demands. Here's a little bit of what they've been saying over the last couple days.
We know that they have been wrong by refusing to negotiate in good faith with the locomotive engineers, instead adopting a take-it-or-leave-it approach.
And that's New Jersey President CEO Chris Calori, who says he stands by initial negotiations where he said the two sides had a deal that was done. So he says he doesn't understand why they're at this point now.
Do you not remember that you met me? That you shook my hand, that you made a deal?
That's Chris Corey there, actually. The National Mediation Board called for the meeting last week, a sign that they're trying to push these two sides to finally reach an agreement before about 350,000 daily commuters are impacted on a strike. For the first time, you'd have to go back to 1983, the last time there was a strike on New Jersey Transit. And riders, they've seen the signs posted everywhere. New Jersey Transit's put signs up in all stations warning people that you better try to figure out another way to get to work if those engineers actually walk off the job come Friday morning.
I would have to stay home and, deal with whatever consequences with my job. I know my job will understand, but at the same time, it's just an inconvenience.
Again, the number one stumbling block here is salaries, where New Jersey Transit said they thought they had a deal. The engineers, they say, walked away. The engineers say they never had a deal and that the New Jersey Transit's not operating in good faith. Here's the head of that union who says he doesn't want engineers to walk off the job either.
Passengers of New Jersey Transit to understand that we as engineers want to keep service operating. We want to keep the trains running.
Let's hope that's the case come Friday morning. 5:42. While we're talking transportation, more bad news for Newark Airport. The FAA wants to keep reducing flights at the airport for months to come. That would mean fewer options for travelers. The federal government works to fix equipment that is aged. In fact, we were joking, but it's not a joke, about this yesterday, that they were looking for parts for the equipment that is old on eBay. Because the equipment's so old, nobody's manufacturing it anymore. It's a little frightening when you think that you're taking off and landing at the airport. And flyers heard this as well.
If they reduce the flight capacity here, that means we'll have to go to local airports, like little ones. That really suck.
It's going to hurt tourism. This is a major hub.
It is a huge hub. Of course, United's number one hub. The agency, the FAA, that is, currently allowing about 56 flights per hour at Newark. Even though its records show the airport typically has a capacity of over 70 per hour. That's, of course, if the weather allows it. The federal government says at a meeting with airline executives, it'll propose keeping the current rate in place for at least the next month as they work out all these problems, the aging equipment and not enough people in the air traffic control tower.
We're not doing it to annoy people. We're not doing it to delay people's travel. What we're doing is guaranteeing safety. We are going to fix Newark. We have a plan to fix Newark. We ask for your patience.
That's U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who blamed the Biden administration for not jumping in and trying to fix all that's wrong. Of course, we've had all those two radar outages that lasted between 30 and 90 seconds where nobody could get eyes on planes, which, of course, was awfully frightening. And passengers say, look, we are incredibly concerned about the flight reductions because that means less options for us as we fly out of Newark Airport. But they say, hey, if you're going to fix all that's wrong, we can handle that.
I think whatever makes people safe, and the air traffic here is congested, and whatever's the best for the travelers.
Yeah, and as you heard from Joe Nolan just a short time ago, 70 flight cancellations already at Newark this morning. All right, 5:45. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam Maladen. Start here at the Garden, obviously. The Knicks need one more victory to reach the conference finals for the first time in 25 years after beating the Boston Celtics 121-113 last night for a 3-1 series lead in their Eastern Conference semifinal series. Jalen Brunson had 39 points and 12 assists. Then the Knicks pushed the defending champions to the brink of elimination in Game 4. Blown out in Game 3, the Knicks dominated the second half to become the first home team to win in this series. Mikal Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns each added 23 points, and OG Anunoby bounced back from 2 poor performances by scoring 20 for the Knicks, who can win the series tomorrow night at Boston. If not, they would come back to MSG to try to do it on Friday night. The Celtics will have to make the NBA's 14th comeback from a 3-1 deficit and may have to do it without their star Jason Tatum, who was carried off the court with a right leg injury with just under 3 minutes left. He scored 42 points, his high in these playoffs, before he was hurt when the Celtics turned the ball over and his leg gave out as he tried to lunge forward toward the loose ball. Hearing some rumors about a potential Achilles injury, but he has an MRI today, so we'll keep you updated on the status of Jason Tatum. Again, Game 5 is set for tomorrow night from Boston to the Diamond in Queens. Pete Alonso hit a game-winning sac fly in the 9th inning, and then Mets took advantage of a costly error by the Pirates to beat Pittsburgh 4-3. Juan Soto registered an RBI groundup. Mets left fielder Brandon Nimmo robbed Joey Bart of a leadoff homer in the 8th. Then New York tied it at 1 when Nimmo and Jeff McNeil doubled off Paul Skeens in the 4th. Coming up next for the Mets, Kodai Senga gets to start in tonight's middle game of this 3-game set against Pittsburgh. First pitch is scheduled for 7:10 p.m. from Citi Field. Out west in Seattle, Trent Grisham hit a pair of home runs, including one during New York's 6-run 5th inning. Then the Yanks beat the Seattle Mariners 11-5. The win was overshadowed by Yankees third baseman Oswaldo Cabrera needing to be taken off the field in an ambulance. And after he got hurt in the 9th inning, he got hurt on an awkward slide when he scored on Aaron Judge's sac fly. He appeared to injure his left leg when he reached back for the plate. Paul Goldschmidt and Cody Bellinger hit back-to-back RBI singles off Emerson Hancock before Austin Wells put the game out of reach with a 3-run shot. Goldschmidt continued his road success with his 5th-inning single. The veteran first baseman has hit safely in each of his 20 games away from Yankee Stadium this year. In those contests, Goldschmidt has 7 doubles, 2 home runs, and 11 RBI. Up next for the Yanks, the ace Max Fried will get the start in Seattle tonight for Game 2 of 3 against the Mariners. First pitch is scheduled for 9:40 p.m. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 5:49. Let's go up to the Bronx, where a family wants justice after 43-year-old Kelvin Mitchell was killed in a hit-and-run accident over the weekend in the Claremont section of the borough. Police say a black Mercedes-Benz hit Mitchell as he was in the crosswalk. This was on Webster Avenue, right near 169th Street. He had lived in this neighborhood for years. Of course, it was the day before Mother's Day. His mother talking about living without him going forward.
If you know something about my son and who did it, please come forward. I beg you in the name of Jesus Christ, please.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you hit somebody, you pull over, and then, of course, it's 10 times worse if you drive away and nobody has sympathy for you. They want to see you locked up for a long time. This tragedy happened in a neighborhood that has the highest concentration of pedestrians killed or injured in the city. Now, Mitchell's name, unfortunately, added to the list of people killed here. Surveillance video shows this black vehicle speeding down the street. It was about 1 a.m, and NYPD says the driver who hit Mitchell, of course, did not stay at the scene. Here's his sister.
Funny, bubbly personality.
Everybody loved him.
Everybody loved Kelvin. Even if you don't come forward, God is going to get you. God has a funny way of working. And I believe that my brother's going to see justice. I feel it in my bones.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. And it may just take a little time for the police to figure it out. Over to Newark, New Jersey. Longest-serving mayor there. Remember Sharp James? He passed away at age 89. I got to be honest with you. I thought he wasn't even around anymore. But he served a record 5 terms, 20 years as mayor before he was convicted of corruption and sentenced to 27 months in prison. I was a reporter. he was one of the more colorful people to follow around. And I was a young Cub reporter at the time when he was mayor. In his 20 years as office, Sharp James was many things. Well, he was corrupt, of course, because he spent time in jail. But he did a lot of good for the city of Newark. And everybody was racing to praise him. Nobody talked about the corruption. Ross Baraka calling him a warrior. Senator Cory Booker, who ran against James, remember, back in 2002 to be the next mayor, and then ran again against him in 2006 and won, said that he was a good guy. There's no word on James's cause of death. From Newark, let's go out to Long Island. Ryan McCaffrey, a former Riverhead school teacher, is accused of sending nude photos and sexually inappropriate videos to victims under the age of 14. Police telling us that he posed as a teenager in order to trick kids into sending illicit photos. He was in court yesterday, and a judge said cash bail at $100,000 as people responded.
I think what's most troubling for parents is hearing about sexual predators who are trolling the internet, but it makes it even worse when you hear that it's a person in a position of trust.
Now, in a letter to parents, the Riverhead School District Superintendent says they don't think any of the victims were kids who were at the school, though they're still investigating. While we're out on Long Island, a driver went over the edge of a parking lot at a marina in Port Jefferson and then landed on a floating dock. Now, I laugh because, thank God, she's totally okay. It was a 17-year-old driver who accelerated too hard, causing the car to go through the divider and onto this floating dock that supported the car. It was a Jeep. And everybody who saw this Jeep yesterday are amazed that it was able to hold the weight of the car.
I'm just happy they're not hurt. You know, it's amazing that the car's sitting on the dock like that.
They had to be going pretty fast. There's no way you could just accidentally hit your gas, because the first thing you have to do is make it up over this curve. It's strange.
Yeah, they had to bring in a heavy-duty tow truck that lifted the Jeep off the dock and brought it back to the parking lot. Like I said, that 17-year-old driver just fine today. It's the opening statements now that the jury's been finalized in the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial. Attorneys both sides weeded through several jurors yesterday morning, but these New Yorkers say jury selection could not have been very easy. Well, because everybody's heard of Sean Diddy.
There's probably like a lot of pressure and also just a lot of like weird stuff going on. So it would be a little nerve-wracking, I think. Yeah.
It's possible, but if you do a lot of bad things, it'll catch up to you.
I would definitely be afraid for myself if I was somebody who's just like a regular person.
Now, Diddy's lawyers note that federal prosecutors removed several potential black jurors yesterday, but the prosecution says no bias demonstrated during jury selection. They call the pool very diverse. So what the jury is, it's 8 men and 4 women, along with 2 women and 4 men who are alternatives. And there continues to be a crowd of Diddy fans, or just people who want to see what's going on outside the courthouse.
I think that we won't see the justice that he deserves because he's that big of a figure.
That is definitely my concern because he is a person of power. But honestly, I do think that times are changing. And for the evidence that is presented, I'm hoping that justice will prevail.
And did you see what he looks like now? He's gone all gray. I guess you can use the barber behind bars. I don't know exactly how that works. I think you could even get your hands on coloring your hair, but clearly maybe they made a decision on purpose not to do either of those things, and now all of a sudden Diddy looks his age. So he's not old, but he's an older guy now. Let's see. Let's end with this story. Here we go. There we go. I had to find the story because I had 17 stories ready to go, but this is the story. A Valhalla pet owner is urging marijuana users to be more mindful about their consumption. Francine Berger said she had to take a 4-month-old puppy to the emergency room after he began having seizures and was unable to hold his urine. She had no idea what was going on.
When he woke up, it was the scariest thing. He had seizures. He was in all his pee. He couldn't hold his pee. He was all over the floor. His eyes were so bugged out.
This little cute cockapoo, same kind of dog I have. She says the doctors at the animal hospital told her right away. They knew what was going on. They said, your dog's high. So now Berger's trying to figure out how her cockapoo got a hold of what was likely an edible, because there's edibles everywhere. She thinks maybe it was at the mall. She says she doesn't smoke.
As soon as we walked in, they said he was stoned on marijuana. No joint, no whatever they call it. I didn't see anything, but he was high as a... I don't know if he enjoyed it. The next day, he had the munchies.
Okay, I don't think that animals enjoy being high. That's just my guess. Although she swears that the pot didn't come from her house, she's happy that her dog is okay today. And the vet hospital nearby that treated the dog says they're seeing this all the time. Dogs coming in high, and thankfully more times than not they're just fine, but it's just an awful mean thing to do to your pet.
We see it all the time. I think we see several cases a week, and over the past couple of years it's been getting more and more frequent, especially with edibles becoming a thing.
Yeah, I'm more amused that the dog owner says her dog had the munchies. I think dogs always have the munchies.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?